Good evening and welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, denials and finger-pointing as House public hearing continues on the disappearance, return, reinstatement and promotion of former pension task team head Abdulrasheed Maina in Abuja. A former Director General of the Bureau of Public Procurement, Obiageli Ezekwesili, faults NNPC Group Managing Director in the award of contracts by the State Oil Company. Our big story tonight focuses on the persistent challenges in the manufacturing sector and what players say is the way out of the maze. And Russia blames the United States for North Korea's missile crisis, says Washington is provoking a war with Pyongyang.
On Business News tonight, Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation gives assurance of adequate supply of petroleum products across the country as preparations for end-of-year celebrations begin.
On sports news, with less than 24 hours to the much-anticipated FIFA World Cup draw, Nigeria's coach Gernot Rohr says the Super Eagles are not apprehensive of any of their participating teams in Russia.
Abuja,
2018.
Union Bank challenges the permanent forfeiture of the Ikoyi property linked to the dismissed Director General of the NIA IOK, where the EFCC recovered 13 billion naira.
We begin tonight with the ongoing investigation by the House of Representatives into the return of the former chairman of the Task Force on Pension Reforms, Abdulrasheed Maina, to the country, his reinstatement to the Federal Civil Service and reposting to the Ministry of Interior. At the resumed hearing today, the Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, denied allegations that Maina had been receiving salaries after he was dismissed from the Federal Civil Service. Other government officials present at the day's hearing include the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, the Head of Service and the Accountant General of the Federation. Our correspondent, Larry Lasisi, has this report.
Other invited guests.
It's a continuation of the investigative hearing of the House of Representatives into the circumstances surrounding the disappearance, reappearance, reinstatement and promotion of the former chairman of the Task Force on Pension Reforms, Abdulrasheed Maina. It's a full house with federal ministers and heads of government agencies in attendance. The permanent secretary of the Ministry of Interior, who was not present at the last proceedings, speaks on the letter allegedly reinstating Mr. Maina. The head of service, however, disagrees with his position.
The constitutional body that is mandated by Constitution to only appoint, discipline and promote issued a letter to whoever they want to issue to release to that person. To me, to the commission, they have already reinstated him. Whether that letter is given to him or not, he's being reinstated. If that letter is withheld with somebody, that person must have a reason for withholding that letter, but not that reinstatement is not cancelable.
Mr. Maina has not been reinstated into the civil service so far as the letter of reinstatement was never endorsed and delivered to him.
The issue of procedure is another point of contention.
So that letter given to Maina, as for me, permanent secretary, a copy was sent to me. In that copy sent to me, there was no any statement, wait for head of service to release or what. I don't know whether head of service was issued a letter to give him or not. A copy was sent to me for my information. As permanent secretary, I must act on that copy.
In this instance, Mr. Maina was never issued a posting instruction to Ministry of Interior. There are so many issues wrong with the process in which Mr. Maina was absorbed back into that ministry, sir.
Eventually, the permanent secretary takes this position.
I'm here to take responsibility. Whatever Interior has done wrongly in accordance with the way administrative matter has been taken to the end of this matter, because I cannot reject it. I'm the permanent secretary, head of admin, sir. I take responsibility for any administrative wrongdoing that the Interior has done as permanent secretary of that ministry.
Members of the committee are also interested in the steps being taken to unravel the mystery surrounding letters said to be from the Ministry of Justice.
When this
controversy arose, I instructed the permanent secretary, taking into consideration my earlier KIV of a letter dated 5th October, that they should initiate process to now unravel what truly transpired, if indeed those letters have actually emanated from Federal Ministry of Justice, what indeed transpired.
When can we get a report from you concerning that process?
When it is concluded through bureaucratic process, but I assure you I can ask them to expedite action over it.
The Minister of Finance is then invited to speak to the allegation that the former chairman has been receiving income from the federal government.
His salary was stopped in March 2013. That was the last payment we have to Mr. Maina, which was for the month of February, paid in arrears. We've checked our reinstatement reports, we've searched all combinations of names with Maina, and we have no such record. So the only conclusion we can draw is that he is not receiving salary from the federal government as far as our records are aware.
Counsel to Mr. Maina fails to respond directly when told to respond to the position of the minister and is interrupted by the chairman, a step that drew this reaction.
You are saying no. Yes, you cannot be submitted. How will you give everyone a chance to discuss and talk? And we are trying to be pushed into a corner. That was exactly what happened in the Senate in 2012. And we will resist it. Give us chance, please. Give us chance to
Please. Give us chance. You have something to say?
Please, yes, we do.
Talk.
We do.
Talk. But hold on, please.
Let me be your oath, please. Let me be your oath.
No. Who are you?
Let me be your oath.
Hold on. Who? Please, are you the lawyer to Mr. Maina? Are you his lawyer?
I'm a member of the task team.
Sit down. Sit down.
Eventually, the lawyer is given a chance to speak, even though he does not counter the position of the minister. The committee says it has come to the end of its investigation. The next step will be for the lawmakers to come up with their report and recommendations. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
The Comptroller General of the Nigerian Immigration Service and the Director General of the Department of State Services were also available at the public hearing to explain what they know about Maina's movement, while the DSS boss, Mr. Lawal Daura, exonerated his office from the main saga. The Comptroller General of the NIS, Mr. Muhammad Bandidi, said Maina disappeared from their radar since 2013.
December 1st, 2015, we have discovered a paper from EFCC directing us to remove his name in the stop list, which we have stopped, we have removed. But when the case of Maina started, when directive was given by Mr. President that he should be looked for or investigation should be done, we blocked his name in our stop list. We blocked all his passport, that's Nigerian passport, which means he cannot reissue his passport any longer, and he cannot pass through our recognized border. I have to state that we have checked our e-pass. We have not seen movement of Maina through our airports since 2013 when he was refused. So to the record available to us, Maina has not been traveling. If he has been traveling, he has not been passing through a port we can see him.
The disappearance and subsequent exit from the country by Maina was made possible and easy for him, as there was no request by any agency of government to the DSS for his apprehension. Consequently, his name was not placed in our service watch list. I would like to state here that the service has nothing to do with the reinstatement into the public service of the Federation of Maina, as well as his subsequent promotion. However, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice placed a call to me when he was outside the country and requested me to advise him on a request that he got through a source that Maina wanted to meet him. and that he wanted me to advise him whether to agree to see Maina or not in that foreign country. And I responded to the Attorney General that he should accept to see Maina, but he should not see him alone. He should see him with a third party. And of course, the Attorney General accepted the advice, and later he confirmed to me that he indeed has seen Maina in the presence of the National Security Advisor.
Joining me live now from our Abuja studios to take a further look at this controversial matter is a legal practitioner and public policy analyst, Dr. West Idahosa. You're welcome to the News at 10.
Thank you very much.
You've been following the whole Maina saga. What do you make of today's testimony at the National Assembly?
Well, I think that today was very embarrassing. It showed clearly how untidy the administrative processes in the country are. You can imagine the revelation that the Attorney General himself was indeed, in my own opinion, the author and the finisher of Maina's reinstatement. And yet the impression that was being conveyed was that many of the letters that emanated from his own office did not emanate genuinely, as it sought to put it. I think that was very dishonest, and that was beneath his office. And I imagine that if we were in a civilized climate, he should be tendering his apology to this country, and of course apologizing to all of us. But you know, this is Nigeria, and I hope one day we get there. But significantly, it is even very painful that the Attorney General will allow himself to meet with a citizen who was on the run in a foreign country, who had been declared at least wanted by an agency of the federal government of Nigeria, the EFCC, at the time of that meeting. The advice of the SSS was not well conceived. There was no basis for that. It was very, very unfortunate that that happened. And on the whole, it appears to me that the Maina saga is being manipulated by those in government, and otherwise there is no reason in the country right now why Maina should not be before a court of law in Nigeria, proving his innocence, if indeed he is as innocent as he has claimed on many forums of communication to the Nigerian people.
Now, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Interior is claiming responsibility for any of the procedural shortcomings in the restatement of Maina, while the Attorney General seems to be distancing himself from the letter of reinstatement. What would you say is really going on here?
Well, if he chooses to be the fall guy of the government, that's fine. But as far as I'm concerned, that behavior, if you look at Section 4 of the public service rules and all of the rules under that, that's a misconduct on his part. It's not just an administrative misdemeanor. It's a serious misconduct on his part, that he conducted himself in a manner that fell short of administrative standards, which excluded the head of service from doing her job properly, from deploying the appropriate seal to get Maina to reinstated. And to that extent, I think he should be subject to a query, and he himself, in my own opinion, should be facing administrative penalty at this moment.
And how do you see this whole matter ending, or what should Nigerians expect to be a satisfactory resolution of the issue?
Well, I don't think Nigerians should beg the issue. I don't think the government should be negotiating with Maina. If he has anything to say, I think Maina should be before a court of law. If indeed he has something to say and it turns out to be a material witness, the government can reach some deal with him and get him to be a key witness in order to get all of those who are involved and get the money back to the people's purse. There is hunger in the land, and it's critical that the money that is out there be recovered in public interest.
Dr. West Idahosa, thank you for joining us on the News at 10.